Good evening, viewers. You're welcome to this week's edition of Impact. Today on the program, I have a very important personality, a man who has contributed so much to the economic development and financial services in Nigeria. We're going to take a look at a critical sector today on the program. For over 4 decades, the Nigerian economy has mostly depended on proceeds from the sale of crude oil. This is at the expense of other sectors such as solid minerals and agriculture that hitherto contributed significantly to the economy of Nigeria. There is creative and entertainment, manufacturing and services. The solid mineral sector in Nigeria, for instance, has the potential to contribute immensely to the growth of the Nigerian economy. Specifically, the development of the solid mineral sector could help to combat poverty in Nigeria, their job creation, and of course, poverty alleviation and so on. Most importantly, it could help alleviate some of the problems associated with the enclave nature of the Nigerian economy, which is, of course, reliance on the oil sector. And of course, it's being vulnerable to the fluctuations in oil prices at the international market. Now, today on the program, we're going to take a look at an institution that is saddled with the responsibility of providing funds for the stimulation of the non-oil sector in Nigeria. My guest attended Benue State Polytechnic, from where he got an ordinary national diploma after completing his studies at the Teachers College, where he obtained a National Certificate of Education. Because of his desire to one day be a teacher, he proceeded to the University of Ibadan, where he graduated with a master's degree in banking and finance. His experience has spanned over 30 years in banking and finance, covering investment, commercial and mortgage banking. Having worked in several financial institutions and served in various capacities, his last appointment was as Executive Director in charge of capital markets, financial advisory services and research and strategy with Afribank Capital Limited. He held the position until his appointment on 14 August 2009 as the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Export-Import Bank. He has fundamentally transformed and refocused the bank and returned it to profitability. My guest was elected on Tuesday, May 29th. That happens to be my birthday. Okay. As the honorary president of the Global Network of Export-Import Banks and Development Finance Institutions. He is the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Nigeria Export-Import Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome Mr. Roberts Orya to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you.
Alright, sir. Now, let's look at this critical sector, that is the non-oil sector of the Nigerian economy.
Yeah.
Now, for decades, we've actually been depending on the oil sector. Now, what do you think are those factors? Because I remember in those days we used to hear about the coconut pyramid in Kano. We've heard about cocoa in the southwest, the palm oil in the southeast. So at what point did we now leave that and now begin to rely totally on the oil?
Thank you very much. Let me just take us back to the pre-independence time, where our business sector was dependent on the non-oil export. Oil was first discovered in Nigeria in a place called Olobiri, that is in Bayelsa, in 1956. But the first shipment of oil from Nigeria was in 1958. At this time, oil was not the major foreign exchange earner until 10 years later. That was The export of Nigeria that time was dominated by the non-oil export. It made up almost 97% of the exports of Nigeria, which was basically agricultural products and some solid minerals was the main. By 1970 to 1974, Nigeria began to drift. We saw a situation where so much money was not coming from oil because of the increase in oil price. And then Nigeria stepped up the production. Our production now increased from about 5,100 barrels per day to about 2 million barrels per day. That was the beginning of the problem for Nigeria. Now you now saw agriculture, which was the mainstay of the economy, now dripping from about 43% to 7%.
Now that sector automatically became unattractive.
Unattractive, okay. Because of the petrodollar that we're getting, the oil boom. So agriculture was immediately neglected, and it dropped from 43 to 7% of our GDP. And then you find oil, taking over. This continued until around 1980, when we now saw that the position was completely reversed. We now find the oil sector contributing about 95% of our export earnings, which have stayed up to this point. And that is where you are seeing oil contributing about 70% of the government revenue and about 95% of our export revenue. You now find the non-oil sector having about 5%. And we have witnessed that trend up to today. So that was where we got it wrong. And because we were getting so much money, so much petrodollar was coming in, we even began to import the same agricultural products that we were exporting because they became cheaper. So we left the non-oil sector completely and then concentrated on oil. That was the beginning of Nigeria's problem because of the over-reliance on a monoproduct.
What do you think are those policies that could be put in place immediately to stimulate the local economy, aside from crude oil?
What has happened to Nigeria now, the current situation that we have found our economy in, there is no other way out apart from paying attention to the non-oil sector. Because the potentials that we have in the non-oil sector are so great. They can rival whatever income or revenue that we're getting from oil. Take agriculture for instance. Agriculture, even at this point in time, is contributing about 21% to our best GDP. And is the major employer, the major generator of labor in Nigeria. You can see the kind of foreign exchange that we were wasting over the years in importing rice, in importing fish, in importing some of these consumables, which we have the capacity to produce here. We have the arable land, we have good soil, we have good water, we have a middle class, we have the youth, we have all the dams that have been created for us to farm all the year round. But we decided to do away with them, to ignore them because of the oil. So at this point in time, what the government should do and what our economy needs is to pay attention to unleash the potentials that we actually have in the non-oil sector. I mentioned about agriculture. Agriculture, both for the consumption of Nigerians and for export. Enabling what we have paid attention to now is agro-processing. We want a situation where we will stop the issue of exporting raw agricultural commodities outside the country. They will go process it and sell it back to us. Because when you are exporting raw agricultural commodities, you are exporting jobs, you are exporting opportunities, you are exporting everything to that economy. And then we turn around and buy this thing at a price that is sometimes 10 times more than what we had exported. Now when you come to a sector like solid minerals, look at the economy of South Africa. South Africans are relying mostly on mining. I remember in 2011, the total export of South Africa was about $94.21 billion or thereabout. Almost 60% of that came from mining. The endowment of Nigeria is 100 times more than South Africa in solid minerals. We have 34 solid minerals in commercial quantities. Yet, as we are speaking now, solid minerals contributing less than 1% to our GDP. And what does that tell you? That we have huge billions of dollars, billions of naira on the ground, but everybody has forgotten it and is chasing oil. Because I know you are working in the oil industry, you give me a piece of paper, I don't even execute, I sell it to the third party and I make 100 million. Now I call you and I say, come to the Exim Bank because we have huge agricultural commodities that are not being preserved. If you get to my state like Benue, we have the mangoes, we have the tomatoes, we have everything. The post-harvest losses are amazing. And then I call you and say, hey Thompson, come and let me give you a small facility in Exim so that you can buy a small processing plant to process this so that we can create jobs. We create market for the rural farmers. You look at me and say, this MD must be a madman. Because I will say, bring this document, bring this collateral, bring all this so that we can comply with our conditions. You say, how can I get 100 million without doing anything at all?